The Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge presents an international homeschool program that offers African heritage, biology, astronomy, language arts, yoga, and much more. Our classes are created with the young ones in mind, and we cater to youths from kindergarten to high school. Children love our colorful and very animated lessons, while parents recommend it to friends and family. Contact us for a free preview and see for yourself why investing in the International Homeschool Program will be of great benefit to you and your young ones. Blessed love.
Somewhat of a shortened version. As I said, I have an official appointment that I really have to honor even at 9 o'clock our time. So, I wouldn't waste any time. I'm just going to say blessed love to the brethren, blessed love, Rasta, Rastafari, and
Rastafari, blessed love,
and
Priest Isaac. I'm Majid.
Yes, I hear you clearly. Oh, I want coming clear. Rasta was there, but well, you know how it is. It looked like he slipped out for the moment. Yes, my Lord, as I said, we're going to be on a somewhat of a shortened version this evening of the program, but somehow I wanted to kind of continue along the line of the discussion that we were having the previous time. We were talking about mythology and let me just call it history for now. I think we definitely came to understanding that in anciency, not only is mythology not a lie, it's reality in a sense. It may not be. I think we came to that conclusion. It may not be step-by-step facts, but with those who understood the science, it could pass for the truth. So I think that's the conclusion we came to the last time. But when we were sealing up, I kind of wanted to home it down, home it into the Emperor Haile Selassie the first. And I think I was trying to paint a picture of us somewhat bringing the ancient tradition of mythology into the king, and if it wouldn't be acceptable. And I brought in the story of the picture of the king when he flying with the lion and the Statue of Liberty dropping down, and so and I was saying, I don't know if I went too deep with it, but I was saying this is something we would have done in ancient time. In fact, the two previous programs that we did would have taught the audience that, okay, yeah, man, mythology and esoteric business, nothing wrong with it. It's an ancient science portraying a higher level of the truth. So now I agree, as a Rastafari, we are a bit fanciful, I know that for sure. But couldn't it be also that we are unknowing to our own self unconsciously through our genetic makeup? That's how the thing going on. Expressing even in art form, just the same way man does write graffiti under the subway. Expressing the ancient art that we had from before, even in the hieroglyphs, and bringing it to modern time. And I'm saying all of that to come back to the king, They have some stories about the king that, ones are questioning and someone's consider them historical fact. And this is where I wanted to balance it today. Like, for example, the story of when the king threw the apple up in the sky and cut it into 12 pieces and one drop on the floor. Hieroglyphs. And I'm saying all of that to come back to the king, They have some stories about the king that, ones are questioning and someone's consider them historical fact. And this is where I wanted to balance it today. Like, for example, the story of when the king threw the apple up in the sky and cut it into 12 pieces and one drop on the floor. I mean, I have a brethren here, Rasta, I say not on the line yet, but we have a brethren named Haile, right here in Antigua. And this brethren is a strong advocate, proponent for the story of when they say the emperor draw the bird on the paper. I read that. I think I read that in a Jahog book. If you know them books, the Jahog books. Clearly,
Right.
I remember reading that, and in a sense, I wasn't questioning it as such at the time. I didn't put my neck on the block. But honestly, as Rastafari stepping on, I think about that. I mean, you don't know, I ain't questioning my emperor at all. But I just never come to grips with that story there. I said, no, man, something right there. You tell me, you just draw. Just my biological understanding of dimensions and everything, I just, up to this day, I just can't see it. And certain things, even the account of Yogi Raj and him meeting the emperor in 1980 and whatever it was, but it's in the 1980s. All of these different things I wanted to put on the table amongst I and I to see how we balance them out, what we consider reality. Even the idea I brought up, I think the other day about the picture of the emperor in the moon. So I was kind of interested to see where you balance that one, if it's just a figment of our imagination or by some mystic way nature has formed that image there. So in them levels I want to take the discussion, even though we won't be here this long this evening. Yeah, my Lord, blessed love.
Yeah, man, blessed love. Well, yes, Priest Isaac, give thanks to be here again, reasoning with the eye about these important matters, because
very much so.
Is want some clarification and whatnot. Now, one thing I'm sure you would realize, I don't like to really trample on certain people's perceptions or certain people's beliefs. You understand? Even so, I mightn't hold to the same belief or perception as a next one-on-one. You know what I mean? So I find like what you say, which one you want to touch on first? And which one of these issues if we honing into highly?
Okay. I would home in to the account given by Yogi Raj, which would lead also to how the emperor come off of the scene. But see, to be in realistic terms, how I would like to leave this conversation is not just pinpointing event, but in the same way we left the last conversation, somewhat seeing a tool or seeing a pattern or even seeing a formula of how to decipher truth from, let's say, legend. Let me use the word legend here, because you have legendary stories and you have the historical account, and there must be some kind of formula you can use to say, hey, okay, figure this out. I see what's going on here. This is not exactly how it goes, but I see why the story is told. So that's what I was looking. But we can check that one first if you want to start it on that level. Can you make it?
Yeah, man. Well, first thing, before that video come out a couple years ago on YouTube, the account from the Yogi Raj, I was never aware of the ample before. You know what I mean? I never heard of the Virgin before. And he come out saying this. Now, what somebody, a Rasta, make a certain commentary on that and say that due to how Rastafari, enough people within Rastafari in a kind of literalist, and some would even say like in a kind of, I wouldn't want to say, let's say, immature way of dealing with certain myths and certain things like that, right? So it come like a man say Rastafari is like a fertile ground for certain people to kind of come in with a side talk and swoop up ready believers now. You understand? So a man will come and say, well, he meet the emperor in, I believe he say it was in Queen Elizabeth Palace in Buckingham Palace. And he do a fire ritual, he say, with the emperor. And I'm not really sure what are the other details of it, you know. But
he got they had tea and cake and so.
Tea and cake.
I like to say, he said a few things that stood out to me, you know.
Yeah. Now you see, it have a timing. It have.
He said he was the guest. He said he was the guest. The emperor was the guest of the late Queen Mary. I've done a program on that. I don't know if you ever see that one. And
Mary, you know, or Mary or Elizabeth.
No, he said Mary in the book. It's a book. It's an audio book. He said the king was the guest of the late Queen Mary. And when we do the maths, you know, the only Mary he may be talking about is actually Queen Elizabeth's mother. You know, and the thing get real, you know, if you want to say foggy from there. I did a program on it, man. I have it on YouTube. Just to come to some realistic understanding, you know. Okay, I don't know. We're not going to just fall asleep on that.
Right. Yeah. In recent time, I would say since about after the year 2000, right? In this new millennium, the two most shocking piece of information come out is that one day and the ARCHAEOASTRONOMY, right? Regarding sightings or so-called sightings or appearances of His Majesty after the time in 1975 when they say that he was deposed by Mengistu and the Derg regime. You know what I'm saying? So them 2 days like the most assertions then. But I find the brethren could have given a backup story, a follow-up upon what happened after that, because that's the 80s. So if he have this inside information, you know what I mean, how we are to get in contact with him to try to follow up on some more things, you know what I'm saying?
Well, because he did a whole reason with some bingy brethren, you know, outside of the actual book. I don't know if you ever see that one. I even highlight that. Yeah, with he sit in a whole bingy session and kind of give a more detail of the visit, you know. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you know, get the impression he's not genuine from that video there, but anyway, you know, Rasta is here there sitting in with us, you know. Let me just bring in the king again. Yes, Rastafari, how is it?
Haile.
Rastafari.
I don't know if you're hearing the discussion thus far.
Greetings to all the listeners out in Radio Land, as the saying goes. And I'm just to take it in, interestingly, with a couple of questions in mind, of course.
Right.
Because the idea of these accounts by the yogi being true, my question would be, well, okay, let's assume that these stories are true. What will that be saying to us as regarding His Majesty and this idea of him being God? To my mind, what if that was true? What would that prove? What would it do for us?
That's a big plus there, man. You are.
Okay, respect. Tell me in what way that I see that to be.
Oh my, hope you're still there. Oh my God, no. But anyway, he gone there. But oh my, I don't know how it is with the king with that thing he there with. But of course, that.
What I think he was leading in today. I think what Rasta was trying to lead in today, my lord, is that it come like it more would derive a benefit to the brethren to say, well, he get the special blessings and do these things with Selassie, rather than, well, it go serve Rastafari people to know, well, this man saying these things about the emperor or something, you know?
Well, okay, maybe he might have been going there. Well, the thing is, me and Rasta would have reasoned about this a couple of times, you know. And so I don't
Yes.
know. Yeah, we would have reasoned not necessarily that situation there, but just the emperor himself. So Rasta said for sure. No, I know you posed the question. I wasn't really answering for me. I just answering for Rastafari as the faith. And it only makes common sense that if your oracle is said to have either died or disappeared by news broadcast, and he appeared about 7 years after, that will add to the faith. Of course, the faith will get a boost. Any which way turn it. Whether it means something to me, you are him. The faith will get a boost. Like people can say, what? The Rastaman thing serious. But one thing I always bring
Well, you see, inside of that, it would still bring, it might bring a boost in one sense to say, well,
yeah, man.
the emperor come forward. But what's saying, it come like, it might also be like, well, how do you emperor reach and no rule in Ethiopia and inside Buckingham Palace for a second time again, like in the 1940, in the 1941 time, and you know what I mean? The May 5th time, and so
well,
I do that. I really too, especially the Yogi man thing. I feel like if he trying to kind of ride on Rastafari wave day and a kind of you know.
But one thing I would say about that, because I mean, I try to look into the thing realistically. One thing I would say, if you notice, his account is much closer to the disappearance of the emperor, you know, than to where we are today. Because, okay, like for example, you'd hear that account and say, boy, you see, I tell you, but that's a long time ago as well. That's just like several years, maybe 7 years after the emperor's disappearance. Now, let me say this now, and I hope the question will come in, because I'm going back to even previous conversations I would have with him. Now, we have an elder brethren that myself and Isa know. Brother Isa, and that's why here I would like to bring it up. And the brethren name is Nato Maynard. We call him Top Ranking. Or Top Ranking is the Rastafari here in Antigua. He's a businessman too. You know, he's one of them man, you know, he may not move with his crown and so now, but he's still the same top ranking that we know as youth. But what I'm saying now, a man that help a lot of youths and children and send people to school and things. He tell I, as a younger one, he clearly remember, and he originally from Dominica, and I think he was in his grandmother's house the time. He remember when the news came out and BBC say the emperor of Ethiopia is gone missing. Now remember them times I didn't even born yet. I was already in the womb, but I didn't come out yet. So I give you the account.
Yeah.
Now, I know individuals, like you see the brother that the brother Tikir that did the same movie, The Man of the Millennium, that on YouTube. I met him in St. Croix when he launched that video in St. Croix at Yucca Village. Stand Up, that's the name of the place. It was my projector he used, Bridget. So, and I'm saying that like if that's something big, you know, just trying to show you the level.
No, that big man, hey, that big man, don't diminish, you know.
He's saying, right, that clearly shows, and you see it in his video that the knowledge of the emperor, so it's not something that was being pushed at that time. He said of accounts up to the 80s where the police was still breaking into people's huts looking for the emperor because of sighting of the emperor. I have a brethren in Barbados named Cephas, an elder Rasta man, who said he used to work, when he was living in England, he used to work on these big liner ships. And he remembered being in Ethiopia and being in some place where the police came in looking for the emperor because they were sighting of somebody like him. And these are in the 80s now. So and I tried to make it sound fanciful, and they find the emperor was on a mountain on a black lion in the year 2000. None of them things I talking. I try my best to bring you know, as grassroots as I can. And I'm not going to pull no opinion from that, you know. I'm just going to say that I do not lean on the side of the story of Mengistu or nobody choking him off. Because remember, you know, before that choke off story is died, they say he died during a prostate cancer surgery, you know. And his doctor came out. These are facts, and said he didn't know nothing about that. And then later the choke off business came out and they snuff him out and all of that. So I just balance these things. I'm not trying to put a super cape on him, and and he don't have his cover already. He don't have his cape. I just try to look at it realistic. Now let's be realistic again. The emperor, this is the emperor, you know. Me and sorry, Rasta Iceland coming, you know, because me and Iceland have this conversation already. And I remember telling Iceland clearly, but Iceland, the emperor, is a mystic man, you know. Iceland asked me, what do you mean by mystic? What does mystic mean? You understand? He kind of hold me in a corner there, but we know the emperor, there's a certain level of discipline, and for the emperor not to be seen again is not nothing strange. They have elephants that do that, you know. They have elephants there. We hear about the elephant graveyard that is hard to be found. They have elephants, when they're ready to die, they just go away, disappear. You know, they have cases where ancient ones would disappear and you don't even know where they go. And I don't lean to ARCHAEOASTRONOMER neither. No disrespect to him. I look at the photos well. No disrespect to him, but I don't think he did. But yeah, go through.
Yeah.
Get the king to come back. Go through.
Yeah, well, I ain't sure if the I did take in an interview I did do with a man named Reginald Dumas. Did you see that? I thought
Yes.
he's the ambassador who went from Trinidad to Ethiopia and make the arrangements for the emperor to come and visit the Caribbean region. Right?
Yeah.
Now, what now by his book, he have a book named 11 Testing Years, Dissonance and Discipline, where he writing about some of his thing now. So I now switch to the part where he giving an account about when they saying His Majesty passed off, right? Now again, it's just a certain piece. But even to tell you, because this is what the man write in the book. Then on the 21st of March 1975, in the middle of all these empty protestations, the government announced that it had revoked its invitation to the Crown Prince to become king and abolish the monarchy. The referendum promised several months before had vanished without fanfare or trace. But then it had been Aman's promise, and Aman was Eritrean and Aman was dead. Aman is a person, but he would have given the context before we are reading here now. And he say, on the 27th of August, the rumor swept through Addis. Selassie had died. That afternoon, I spoke to his doctor, Azrat Wolde-Iasis. He said Azrat was the first Ethiopian surgeon. He told me that he had been summoned that morning to the former imperial palace, where Selassie was then again lodged, to attend to him. When he arrived, he was asked to wait. He sat for 3 hours or so, then was told he could leave. He was certain Selassie was dead and that his requested presence had been only a cover. He was right. The next day it was announced that Selassie had passed away the previous day of respiratory failure, and that all the efforts of his doctor to save him had been in vain. Yet Azrat had not been allowed even to see Selassie, let alone provide medical attention. So what he's saying in this book, now this Bridget who write this book, he's not nobody who favor Rastas like and thing. He's a kind of classical colonial kind of Bridget, if you understand. Now, even in what he write there, he's still saying that the personal doctor never get to see Selassie and to know if he alive or if he passed or whatever it is, you know what I'm saying? So.
And this is the same doctor that would have come out with the report to say, well, in a sense, he don't know about that then.
I'm not sure, but I have the brethren name here. His name Azrat Wolde. Yes, Wolde Isis.
Okay, true.
I'm sure you would have pronounced the last name there.
True. We have Ras Ison here again. Brother Ison. Ras, right. Yes, King. Blessed. Ison.
Yes, King.
Yes, positive.
My apologies, Jed. Some stuff happened just on this anyway. Some call. I'm actually on my phone. And some call came in and really just interrupt the whole flow. So let me just pick it up from my question earlier.
Yeah, got you, man.
Because okay, when I look at these stories, right, what I see, these stories are basically aiming to assert or perpetuate the idea of immortality in the flesh. You understand?
Yeah, man, me here.
That's what those stories, it's a kind of mysticism, a kind of way. And these stories basically just seeking to serve that, when even the emperor himself said at the passing of Empress Menen that no man can escape the inevitability of death. And the emperor himself see himself as one with the human family. He's a human, like the rest of us. So to keep having these kind of stories is a kind of way of keeping the idea of this literal interpretation of the scripture, that this man literally, he's God, this personality is God, all of other personality is not, that kind of idea. And I think that we have learned enough about the concept of God. As I say, the African start from the premise that God is unknowable. You understand? We have to keep these things because these are firm positions. So when we are going against these firm positions, even what the emperor say, and then keep insisting and asserting that, you know, to me that's a kind of strange position. You understand? How would that help? For example, if the story was true, how does that help any of us to realize self? You know what I mean? It really doesn't help any of us to realize self. And to me, the crux of the whole thing is not the idea of recognizing some man and say, this is God Almighty, really. The idea is for the emperor to symbolize the divine inside of us. You understand? Because what the emperor is actually doing in our social environment, he is basically advancing divine principle that will bring order to our social life. The emperor is the one that asserts international morality at the foundation of this modern world. When the organization called the League of Nations was formed to basically adjudicate between nations whenever there are conflicts and so on. That's what the organization was founded for. Now, within that organization, the idea of morality in the face of conquest that was going on, that bring about the founding of the organization, the idea of morality become key to any kind of fairness or any kind of justice in the world for ordinary people. That's what the idea of morality do. His Majesty's world savior, by that assertion of international morality and insisting that human activities and relation have to be guided by some principle that bring about fairness and equity.
Rastafari.
You see, and that's what His Majesty advocacy is for in our social environment. Now, internal inside of us, he represents that divine force that bring about that same order within our personal life. in terms of our practice of morality and fairness and justice one to another. You see, that is the power of the Emperor manifestation in my opinion. When I take all things into consideration, that is the power of His Majesty. That is the God that we serve. This principle that ensure righteousness, fairness, equity among human relations, because that's the only way we can have peace and prosperity. That's the only way to do it. We can't achieve that by saying this man is God. It is the principles that ensure that. Remember, even in the Bible, what it is that forge our relationship with this God. It is our adherence to the principles that link us to this God. If we are not observing these principles, essentially we cannot have a relationship with the all.
Mm.
You see? So,
yeah.
to me, these stories more serve the purpose of a sort of mysticism around the character, which I have no difficulty with, really.
You don't have no difficulty?
Really have no difficulty with that. No.
Okay, good.
Particularly because of what His Majesty represents within the Rastafari vernacular. And particularly for people who are traveling their conscious journey, their spiritual journey, a point of non-awareness, because within that realm you have to strictly relate to literal. And this is the reason why it is in our nature so much to recognize a persona. Whenever we become awakened spiritually, that changes. And we now have a deeper understanding of what this God thing really means. And the deeper understanding is that this individual symbolizes the divine in all of us. He's the true self of every man in a matter of speaking, because he represents that divine principle that bring about righteousness, that bring about equity, that bring about order in human relation. So, that would be my input on it.
Well, go ahead, Dan, brother, and come. You go through it.
Yeah, man, precise. At time I tune in about on one of the reasonings about, let me say, about three strongs ago, and I was saying that in your opinion, a man who's saying Selassie dead or not alive, or whatever, it come like he lose the faith of Rastafari in such a way that, but it have, and now as a priest inside the EABIC, what whole three-man a Trinity Godhead, Prince Emmanuel and Marcus Mosiah, Garvey, and Haile Selassie. The original, how I know, when I was a youth man coming up in Trinidad and thing, the Abobo go tell you, well, Prince Emmanuel and these man in Zion, they still alive. In fact, when some man say Emmanuel put down his structure, that causes a schism in a wee island, because enough man in want to believe that. You understand? And up to today still do believe that. You understand? Now, I guess in clarifications upon that scenario from the interview with the African Bobo, who the priest, you know the man name, a little bit. Yeah, man. Yes, okay. No, that was a powerful reason in there and certain things. So you can see how even within the literality of things, because as far the word song, what we hear is man was waiting for the brethren to resurrect a certain portion of time, and then when it looked like that wasn't going to happen, they had to draw for the elder to come and seal up the brethren. You understand? So, and even Marcus Garvey now, enough man really aware about when Marcus Garvey trod over the earth, or or where he was or anything like that. So some man have that, like if Marcus and all still alive somewhere in our realms and in the physical, and you know what I mean. So some of these things. So what I would say, because towards them reasoning there, precise that.
Oh well, that picture is a whole sheet you pull out there a while ago, but filled with many good things there. But
Yeah, man.
well, as you say, you were listening to our reasoning, and I know you hear me touch upon all them different subjects. And you see, that's why we have these kind of conversations now. Even when my lord, even Honorable Isa, even when you said there a while ago, and the king was saying, and as Rastafari, we just kind of add to these things and kind of soup up the vibes, I kind of paraphrasing you, king. And then you said that you don't have no problem with that. That's why I came in and said, you ain't got no problem with that. If you notice, Brother Dread, if you notice even what we were talking about before, again, when I said from the DNA, maybe from the ancient time, just like how we paint graffiti, which is the ancient hieroglyphs in this modern time, if you want to put it. A lot of things we do and how we react is our DNA working with us. So me, because I'm a student and a fan of mythology too, and I understand the value of it. And now as I grow and mature, I can even see it even within Rastafari, albeit unconsciously too, albeit even done by ones who are still in a fantasy world. And I hope that point is not too confusing, to even, because I make it a few times, and if it didn't sink in before, it would sink in now. So that's what I was saying that, and even to Brother Isa, when he was saying that he don't have a problem with that. You see, not that I have a problem with it, but I like the truth. I like the truth. So that is why we were reasoning on the truth about the yogi and his account. Now I know, my Lord, I know the I come in, as I said, I know you're saying, well, and you are right. You answered your own question. What does that do for Rastafari? It will, as I said, I think the answer you're bringing, it will boost Rastafari, because Rastafari now have this confidence and, as they say, immortality. But even though the king says, and I think his words was, the death of man is inevitable, even though he uttered that word, that's not what I'm talking about, I'm saying that in 1981 or 2, that's just a few years, that is closer to the time, that's not even a decade gone, to the time of the emperor's disappearance, to today. So outside of the fanciful, outside of even, okay, like, say we're discussing evolution, and so we're discussing real topics, things that science talk about. So we're not here trying to prove that a specific flesh or a tree or a rock or anything that creation exists will stay forever. Even the sun will be destroyed one day. We understand the physical and its rotation. We're not scared of that no more. You understand what I'm saying? So that's not where the mind is. The mind is, again, not trying to see immortality. The mind is that story correct? It's debatable, and it have good merit for debate. Even all the points I made before, I don't want to go through all of that again. It have good merits for debate. That's why, my Lord, just to answer your question too, that is why I strong with the point of I losing faith when it comes to the emperor, because they have people on the planet that older than the emperor. Now remember, that's the emperor to me, and even if I can't prove it, I gonna hold to my foot. To me, this is like when the emperor went to the League of Nations. Is enough people in Ethiopia say he not coming back and he done dead. Enough people feel it because of technology. It wasn't like today when you could watch TV and so in certain spots. Enough people believe the king was dead. I know that's a different scenario, don't get me wrong. I know that's a different scenario. But I'm saying that we live in a world, for sure, that I know people older than the king that there. So I don't have no proof, so I'm not going to jump on it as if I'm so sure. Well, you know what I mean? We should have a candlelight visual for the king. I'm not so sure.
No.
No, and that's where I stand.
No, that was the Selassie immortal. Turn into immortal hero.
Again. Sorry, got you, King. Sorry, like I said, drop out again. Go ahead.
Yeah, he been missing for a little while there when you're speaking, but I feel like if he might be here and you're still on the radio or something. But I was telling you that Haile Selassie turned into an immortal hero. You understand the circumstances around his disappearance from the public eye? It's shrouded in mystery.
Exactly.
You understand? And yes, and it come like until that day. Like I tell you, if Selassie show up now, real man going quick. You understand? Yeah, real man going quick. Cause it will be a wonderful thing, it will be a different thing, you know. But I don't think I ain't feeling like we're looking out for that in that come from the want then for that to happen is coming out of mysticism and out of what is called eschatology and the end times now. The end time. The Messiah. Yeah. So that is why that expectation.
I could understand that, man. I feel you with that one there. As if, you know, that's what you want to happen, maybe even just to prove a point to yourself. I can feel you, man, because I try to live real, you know. But you see, the thing is, Van Benjamin have this song here, Born in the Time. I don't know if you know it, Born in the Time. And yeah, and I born in a mystic time. You see the time, as you say, Marcus, Garvey, Haile, Selassie, Prince man. That's the time we're living in, you know. You know, long time thing.
Yes, sir.
As I said, I was in the womb. I was already conceived when they.
No, man, it was in your pop's back still.
Right.
Yeah?
No. I was already in my mother's belly. Okay, hold on.
No, man, you say you're 77, you're born.
No, I'm 76. 2nd of January 1976.
All right.
Couple ones are saying
right.
I think I know where that mix-up come from. But anyway, it's 1976.
Right.
So
Rastafari.
And they say, 75 is the 27th of August. Yeah, man, I done conceive. I done conceive.
Yes, I.
So I see that we in the time. You know, but trust me, man, I don't teach my youths them no fanciful thing, you know. I don't, nothing that they're gonna mature and say, but wait, what foolishness he telling me? I make it as real can be, and just leave it at that. And in all honesty, my lord, the person of the emperor status. Remember, we study these things. We know there are people, in reality, there are people that they say dead. Okay, and I put it on the block. But look how they say Hitler didn't really die. They teach us that he died, but they have him secretly hidden because remember, all of them still working together. You hear the same thing about Ben Laden. Everybody know the whole Ben Laden thing. Nobody have no picture of Ben Laden, how they killed Ben Laden. We see him looking at some kind of video, and somehow they just tell you that was him and he gone. We see them hang Saddam Hussein. I'm just saying, I'm not testifying for none of these people, but you know you have the quote-unquote conspiracy theory that and people that have big books that they can hardly lift up, trying to prove that them people didn't die the way they told you they died. They may be dead now, but they're not dead the way they told you they died. They lived maybe 10 years after. This man in some kind of jacuzzi living life when they tell you he died because he was really working with them. You know how the world run. You know how espionage runs.
Because you know Mengistu still sitting up in Zimbabwe.
Say that again?
I say if you know Mengistu still sitting up in Zimbabwe.
Right, yeah, I know that one for sure. Yes, right. Okay. Right. But they don't have no story that he died. He just gone quiet. But we live in a world where them fellas will tell you, yes, well, we know we shot him on the battlefield. and he's gone for good.
Mm.
Gone for good. The man have him in a 5-star hotel with dancing girls and say, yeah, man, this is your payment. You know what I mean? And we're gonna change your name, change your face. All these movies and so I am putting the king in a fanciful Hollywood vibration. But I just know that this is the master that we're dealing with. This is just what I know. I'm not carrying him and putting him like Jesus and he walked in a wall. I just know we're dealing with the master who has never failed us yet. They have all kind of stories. They say the emperor go to Jamaica and his puppy in his dog in his pocket and immigration never see the dog. I mean, as I said, some dogs out there start barking. Yes, go to King.
Yeah, man. Well, give thanks for the thing. I want you to keep your arrangement with the meeting because you don't know, you know what I mean?
Yes,
Punctual. I give thanks for the reasoning and possibly we might even have to still elaborate further on the same conversation, you know?
The Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge presents an international homeschool program that offers African heritage, biology, astronomy, language arts, yoga, and much more. Our classes are created with the young ones in mind, and we cater to youths from kindergarten to high school. Children love our colorful and very animated lessons, while parents recommend it to friends and family. Contact us for a free preview and see for yourself why investing in the international homeschool program will be of great benefit to you and your young ones. Blessings.